So we're going to continue on in this series in 1 Samuel chapter 16. We saw in 1 Samuel chapter 16 verse 1 that in order to go forward with God and do what he wants us to do and go where he wants us to go, we got to learn how to let some things go. We got to learn how to put some things aside. Quit mourning over some things. So we're going to start at verse 2 today. And Samuel says, "How can I go? If Saul hears it, he will kill me." And the Lord said, "Take a heifer with thee and say, I've come to sacrifice to the Lord. And call Jesse to the sacrifice, and I'll show thee what thou shalt do. And thou shalt anoint unto me him who I name unto thee." And Samuel did that which the Lord spake, and came to Bethlehem. In order for Samuel to continue to go forward with God, he had to decide, am I going to act in faith in this situation, or am I going to act in fear? Initially, what came out of his mouth was fear. How am I going to do this? If Saul hears this, he'll kill me. He jumped to the worst case scenario. Mark 4:15 says, "The word comes, and immediately Satan will come to try to steal the word that you heard." How does he steal the word that we've heard? By causing us to fear. So we don't have any room for fear in our life because it will prevent us from walking by faith. So Samuel here initially was, how am I going to do this? If Saul hears this, he will kill me. But he ended up walking by faith because he then listened to the Lord who told him, take a heifer, sacrifice it to me, being the Lord, and call Jesse the sacrifice. So he ended up walking by faith. Samuel here, if he would have acted in fear instead of faith, he would have stayed in a bad situation. He knew God was no longer trying to use Saul to be king. He knew the new king of Israel was then in Bethlehem, being the son of Jesse. And he honestly wasn't even happy in this situation because he's mourning. So he knew he was in a bad situation. If he would have acted in fear instead of faith, he would have stayed in a bad situation. Likewise, it can happen in our life as well. If we end up acting in fear, not in faith, we can stay in a situation we don't enjoy being in, a situation we know God's no longer calling us to be in, but we're stuck here because of the fact we're scared to move forward. So we don't have any room for fear in our life if we're going to move forward. So how do we eliminate this fear from our life? 1 John 4:18 says, "His perfect love casts out fear. He who feareth is not made perfect in love." How do we learn more about the perfect love? There is only one perfect love, that's from God. So how do we learn more about God? We get in the Word. If fear is preventing us from moving forward and walking in faith, how do we stay in the faith? Faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. We stay in the word in order to prevent fear from coming in our life. Because fear, and it also says in 1 John 4:18, it says it will torment us. In the Samuel situation, if he would have acted in fear instead of faith, it would have been a paralyzer. He would have been stuck in a situation, a bad situation, because of fear. And if we continue to look at this, 1 Samuel chapter 14, or 1 Samuel 16, we see that Samuel says, how am I going to do this? If Saul hears this, he'll kill me. But Saul never came after Samuel, right? God then provided him a plan to be able to go to Bethlehem, but something that Samuel was fearing never even happened. It would have been a blessing if God protected Samuel from Saul. If Saul would have came after him, that would have been good. But Saul never even came after him. Some of the things we're worrying about in life, some of the things we thought about are never even going to happen. But if we let fear in our life, it will cause us to stay in bad situations, and it cause us and prevent us from moving forward and walking by faith. We have no room for fear in our life. We have to get rid of fear so we can walk by faith.